Paano naging pinakamayaman sa buong mundo si Andrew Carnegie? Andrew Carnegie was one of the richest people sa buong mundo during 1901. Andrew Carnegie's net worth reaching $310 billion. Hindi lang siya business magnate lang, kundi well-documented din ang kanyang spirit of philanthropy and generosity, which helped America grow as the economic center of the world that it is today. But it wasn't always like this. Ang multi-billionaire na si Andrew Carnegie ay nagsimula sa mga humble beginnings before he became the legendary industrialist na nag-shape ng modern capitalism. Today in our video, magdidiscuss tayo sa mga milestone in the life of Andrew Carnegie, his company, Carnegie Steel, at ang nangyari sa Andrew Carnegie Homestead na ang pinakamalaking steel mill noong industrial era. But before that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment kung ano sa opinion nyo ang most iconic moments sa buhay ni Carnegie and bakit nyo ito pinili. Without further ado, let's get on with the video. Si Andrew Carnegie was for a point in time ang pinakamayaman na tao in American history. But ironically, hindi siya isinilang sa Amerika. Ang story ni Andrew ay nagsimula across Atlantic Ocean sa Dunfermline, Scotland, where lumaki siya in a way that can only be described as abject poverty or sobrang kahirapan. Ang mother niya ay nagtatrabaho around the clock making shoes. Ang kanyang father naman was working as a handloom weaver. That was until dumating ang steam-powered loom technology, and unfortunately, ang main source of income ng Carnegie family disappeared entirely. This sudden financial depression ay nagdulot sa pag-immigrate ng Carnegies to the land of opportunity, the United States of America. From then on, ni-restart nila ang kanilang buhay from scratch at Pittsburgh, the central hub of manufacturing. Pero even then, nahihirapan din sila makabangon sa kahirapan. Ang father and mother niya ay nagtatrabaho ng unfair hours with unfair wages until eventually, the young Carnegie decided to drop out of school para tulungan niya ang kanyang family. Finally, nakakita siya ng trabaho after many hours sa boiler room ng isang hotel as a messenger, a telegram messenger. But ibang klaseng tao si Andrew Carnegie. He went the extra to memorize the faces of everyone he delivered to para ma-recognize niya sila even after work. This provided Carnegie with a unique opportunity to familiarize himself sa local business community. At 17 years old, he perfected his telegraph skills. Aside from that, ang amazing skill na na-develop niya noon was being able to read and understand Morse code kahit hindi niya ito sinusulat. This caught the eye of the famous regional railroad manager, Thomas Scott, who hired Carnegie as a personal telegrapher and private secretary para sa sweldong $35 a month. At the time, malaki na yung pera na yan and he was able to bring his family palabas sa kanilang mahirap na lifestyle. At that time, ang Pennsylvania Railroad Company ay ang pinakamalaking corporation sa buong mundo. And for the business-savvy Carnegie, ito ang best opportunity para matuto siya all there was to know about being successful. Tom Scott, yung boss niya, realized yung potential ni Andrew and decided to take him under his wing, mentoring him like a second father. At eventually, it was because advice ni Scott na nag-invest si Carnegie sa stock market, which gave him his first taste of capitalism. Fast forward a few years later, and Andrew Carnegie was drafted sa American Civil War. But instead of fighting the war, Carnegie would profit dahil dito. The first thing he did was nagbayad siya ng $850 para makakuha siya ng replacement sa kanya for the war. During the war, napansin niya na most sa mga bridges around sa area ay madali lang masira dahil they were only made of wood. He capitalized sa opportunity na ito by founding the Keystone Bridge Company. At about age 38, nag-concentrate siya sa kanyang efforts sa Pittsburgh at binili niya ang J. Edgar Thomson Steel Company, which would later become the Carnegie Steel Company. In 1870, ang company niya ay ang sole monopoly na nagpatayo ng mga first steel plants sa Amerika that used the Bessemer steelmaking process na hiniram sa Britain. Other business-minded details followed, kagaya ng pag-manage sa cost and production accounting procedures that enabled his company to become more efficient kumpara sa mga ibang manufacturing industries sa panahon na yon. Ang kanyang business sense ay tumulong sa kanya to identify any technological innovation that could reduce the cost sa paggawa ng steel was immediately adopted. And sa 1890s, Carnegie Steel Mills introduced the basic open heart furnace into American steelmaking and even to this day ay ginagamit nating mga Pinoy. Carnegie also obtained greater efficiency dulot sa kanyang pagbili ng iron deposits and refineries that produced the raw materials for steel making. Kasama din diyan ang mga ships at railroads that transported ang supplies na yon to his mills. Ang vertical integration na ito sa kanyang business strategy was another milestone in American manufacturing. Carnegie also recruited capable subordinates para mag-follow sa kanya. One of them was Henry Clay Frick. Si Henry Frick, who was taking orders directly from Carnegie, ay nagsimula sa event known as the Homestead dahil ini-increase niya ang working hours ng mga employees and reduce their income. Ang idea nito was actually from Carnegie, pero dahil ayaw niya ma-associate ang pangalan niya to such a horrible practice, ginawa niyang scapegoat si Flick. This caused the workers to go on strike for days, after which nag-hire si Flick ng private army para i-control ang mga manggagawa. This led to several casualties on both sides, and from then on, tinawagan na ito as the Homestead Massacre. Another piece of collateral damage na nanggaling sa Homestead Massacre ay ang damage sa reputation ni Carnegie. You see, in public, Carnegie advocated for better working hours, higher pay, and safer working conditions para sa mga trabahante niya working on the steel mills. Pero behind closed doors, siya ang nag-i-issue ng orders to decrease their pay and increase their working hours. His hypocrisy was incredibly well known dahil even though nagpipreach siya about better wages and safer working conditions, he was simultaneously reducing labor cost by cutting paychecks sa kanyang workers and doing nothing para ensure that his factories had a safe working environment. Si Carnegie ay tinawag na coward because ginamit niya si Frick to do his dirty work. Not only sa tragedy sa Homestead, but also about all the other horrible things na hindi niya gustong i-associate ang kanyang pangalan. But despite ang animosity at anger, ang steel mills ni Carnegie continued to thrive. And by 1990, the United States of America ay nagpuproduce ng mas maraming steel than the entire Great Britain. But in 1901, napagod na si Carnegie sa rat race. Ayaw na niyang mag-lie and slander para lang makakuha ng pera. Instead, he focused his efforts sa pag-bond with his wife and daughter. Ang aspiring businessman na si J.P. Morgan was rising competitor sa steel industry, and si Carnegie, now almost 70 years old, decided to sell the company. He spent his entire life building to J.P. Morgan for $480 million, making Carnegie the single richest man sa buong mundo at the time. From then on, pinutol ni Carnegie ang kanyang ties to business life, and he dedicated 100% of himself to philanthropy. He wanted to make the world a better place, and even a single dollar ay hindi pupunta sa kanyang pamilya. Dahil 5 years lang ang formal education ni Andrew, may soft spot siya sa mga libraries, which he credits for helping him achieve ang financial success niya. For the next years, over the course of his remaining life, nag-donate siya ng higit 2,500 public libraries around the world. Pero hindi ito dahil gusto niya i-promote ang kanyang self. He was generous for generosity's sake. Ang pangalan niya was only displayed in less than 500 sa 2,500 libraries na dinonate niya. And from 1901 until ang kamatayan niya sa 1919 sa Lenox, Massachusetts, ang full-time job ni Carnegie was giving away the vast wealth na na-accumulate niya. As you can see, story ni Andrew Carnegie, he was a man who was as complex as he was rich. Gumamit ba siya ng abusive labor policies to keep his factories at max production? Yes. Was he hypocritical? Of course. While these things are both true, ang philanthropic actions ni Carnegie are equally great. Medyo confusing to say the least. How can a man commit such horrible sins and then become a saint? Malamang ang view niya tungkol sa generous actions niya was a way para mag-atone sa kanyang sins noong businessman pa siya. Regardless kung anong reasons niya, this goes to show that making money is a great feeling. But an even better feeling ay ang emotional warmth na nakukuha natin when binibigay natin ito to those in need. I hope you enjoyed our video today. Thanks for watching and God bless.